This right here is one of the biggest controversies in the world of cinema today. Because while it may seem like Squid Game was the revolutionary hit that changed Netflix forever, that crown actually belongs to this Alice in Borderland. And here's why it's the best death game drama television show. It starts off with its premise. When it comes to coming up with the most interesting scenario for a death game, well, Squid Game doesn't even come close to Alice in Borderland. Here we have people who are brought into an alternate dimension where they must participate in deadly games if they want to survive. Now, that's not only way more interesting than Squid Game's premise, but it also has a lot more potential. The main character is a shut-in neat, which in itself is already an interesting character type to start off with. But when he gets sucked into this mysterious alternate dimension, his character develops so much throughout the show. We get to see him become a leader and take charge of situations, something we don't really get to see from the main character in Squid Game. And then there's the love interest, which is handled very well, unlike Squid Game, because we actually get to see their relationship develop over time. So what makes Alice in Borderland's premise the best? Well, first of all, it's just more unique and creative than Squid Game's premise. Secondly, the characters that it gives us are just so much better to work with. Now let's move on to the games. There's no denying that Squid Game had some great games. But Alice in Borderland just takes things to another level with its insane games. In Season 1, Episode 6, they play tag, which leads to one of the most suspenseful scenes ever put on film. If you've seen the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They also play a game called Human Tetris, which has mind-bending twists and turns that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And then there's the game called Beach, which puts the player's intelligence and teamwork to the ultimate test. Overall, the games in Alice in Borderland are just way more intense and thought-provoking than Squid Game's games. It's like comparing apples to oranges. Except both are great games, but one is just way better. The plot and writing of Squid Game is fairly straightforward. 6 rounds, each getting progressively harder, leading up to the final showdown. Alice in Borderland, on the other hand, has a lot more going on beneath the surface. Like, for example, there are multiple factions within the game that have different goals and agendas. And then there's the overarching mystery of who is running the game and what is the purpose of it all. This keeps the audience guessing until the very end. Plus, the writing is just so much more clever and thought-provoking. Like, for example, in one scene, one of the characters says something that could be interpreted in 2 ways, which adds a whole new layer of meaning to the scene. Squid Game doesn't have anything like that. The acting in Alice in Borderland is just phenomenal! Kento Yamazaki, as Ryota, the main character, gives a nuanced and layered performance that is so much better than the acting we got out of Squid Game's main character. Ryota starts off as a cowardly shut-in, but as the series progresses, he becomes a strong and determined leader. Taosukia, as Yuzuha, the love interest, is also amazing. She brings a vulnerability and strength to the role that is so refreshing to see. And then there's the supporting cast. Oh, man! They are just so good. You've got Hayato Isomura as Chishiya, who plays the cunning strategist. Dori Sakurada as Uzagai, who plays the impulsive hothead. Shuntaro Yaonagi Asukina, who plays the calm and collected leader. And then there's Matsutsumi as Arisu, who plays the genius mathematician. Each of them brings their A-game, and it shows. Squid Game's acting just can't compare to Alice in Borderland. It's like comparing a local theater production to a Broadway show. Sure, both are acting, but one is just way better. Now, let's talk about the directing and cinematography. Squid Game did have some stylish direction, especially in the fight scenes. But Alice in Borderland takes things to a whole new level. The camera work is just stunning, and the action sequences are so well choreographed. One thing that really stands out is how the directors use mirrors and reflections to create a sense of disorientation and confusion, which is perfect for a show about being trapped in an alternate dimension. Also, the color grading is just so much better in Alice. In Borderland, they use a cool color palette to create a dreamlike atmosphere that is both beautiful and unsettling. The soundtrack is also worth mentioning. The music is used so effectively to build tension and create an immersive experience. I can still remember some of the music from Alice in Borderland. It's so good. And now let us talk about the fight choreography, because Squid Game did have some pretty badass fight scenes. But Alice in Borderland takes things to a whole new level with its fight choreography. It S. So well done. And it S. One of the things that sets it apart from Squid Game in Alice in Borderland. The fight scenes are a lot more brutal and realistic. They don't hold back. And it's actually kind of crazy to watch sometimes. And that's not to say that Squid Game's fight scenes are bad. They're definitely well done for what they are, but they're definitely not as intense as Alice in Borderland's fight scenes. When it comes to world building, Squid Game does a decent job creating a world that is familiar yet slightly off. But Alice in Borderland takes things to a whole new level. The alternate dimension that the main character gets sucked into is so well realized that you can practically feel yourself inside of it. And then there's the mystery surrounding the game and its creators. It keeps you guessing until the very end, and it adds a whole new layer of depth to the story. Overall, Alice in Borderland is just a better show when it comes to writing, directing, acting, cinematography, fight choreography, and world building. Squid Game is a great show, and it definitely deserves all the success it's gotten. But compared to Alice in Borderland, it just falls short in many areas. Now I know what you're thinking. What about the rewatch value? Which show is better? To watch again, I would say that Squid Game has higher rewatch value because it is just so damn fun to watch. It's like watching a movie with friends. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Alice in Borderland, on the other hand, is more of a show that you watch once and then you think about it for weeks or even months afterwards. It's like those movies that make you question everything you thought you knew. And if that's what you're looking for, then Alice in Borderland is definitely the show for you. So, do you agree or disagree with my assessment? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't watched either show, I highly recommend checking them out. You're in for a treat. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.